So once again, good evening, guys. Very happy to reconnect again. Today, we will start with a new topic. In fact, the last session we were doing ABC costing. Now today this session will move on to a new topic called service cost allocation. All right. So let me give, probably I'll take you back little, little back, just to how this, even before we start with service cost allocation, you need to have bit clarity about kind of what exactly we are discussing. So probably from that perspective, I'll just give some context to it, and then we'll come to service cost allocation. All right. So let me take this example of helicopter manufacturing again. All right. Now, if you look at this particular factory, this is, as you could see, this is a production department. Okay, this is relating to, you can see a helicopter, lot of activities happening. So it is something called a production related department. Action is happening. Everyone with me? Yeah. Now,
Sir.
What happens is, only with production department your functions of an organization cannot run. So there may be core departments like, production is a core department. Similarly, there may be a lot of core departments which are kind of inevitable, or they are the happening divisions. If I say production department, then if I say, let's say, sales department, just to give an example, sales, without sales department, the company cannot run. Technically it is very, very inevitably required. So production department, sales department, these departments can be, or there may be many other departments, depends upon the industry, wherein these departments are inevitable from an organization perspective when it comes to driving that organization. I hope you're with me, right? Now, there may be some departments. For example, let me give an example of a canteen. Okay, canteen service. What we can call that department, is it an inevitable department of the organization, or it is to supplement the main functions? What do you think? What's your thought?
Inevitable.
Is it inevitable, meaning you understood? Na? Without that, it cannot survive. That is called inevitable. There may be departments like production, sales are inevitable. It cannot be avoided. You need that. On the other side, I'm saying about a canteen department. Okay, canteen service. Is it inevitable?
No,
what do you think? What do you think? Hello. What's your thought?
Supplementary department.
Supplementary department or service department. I can also say it as service department. Agree with me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Everyone is in alignment. Please respond yes, no. If there is any other thoughts or doubts coming across, also please raise hands, or pose a question, or whatever it may be. So what I'm trying to say is that if you take an organization, there are departments like production department, sales department, marketing department. All these departments are inevitable. The organization cannot sustain without those departments. However, there are some departments like canteen services. Let's say HR department. Today's world, HR, accounts, or IT department, all these things, it can be treated as a service department. I'll tell you a reason for that also. See, if you look at good companies, what they do is, today the accounts department, they realize that it is a service department, and they started outsourcing those works. Please understand, the world has changed. Today, if it's a manufacturing company, you have an accounts department with 20 people, 30 people working all these things. Companies are thinking, okay, should we really need to have that accounts department in-house? Why don't we kind of outsource the entire work to some outsourcing company, so that we completely save that service? So we can call it as, because it is a service department, they cannot outsource production. Why? Because probably that is their core function. So what I'm trying to, or HR department, HR can be outsourced. Today, you don't really need a full-fledged or a full-fledged HR department to be there within the organization. You can outsource many of the activities. Payroll is one of the activities. They're completely being outsourced these days. So what I'm trying to say here is, there are departments like production department, sales department, marketing department, which are inevitable. And we can say that the main departments. At the same time, there are other departments like service department, probably canteen services or accounts department, IT department. These can be called as service department. Again, it depends upon industry to industry and the kind of work you do. All these things are very instrumental to decide whether it is a service or production department. I was taking helicopter division, hence I said probably something like canteen or a accounts department can be a service department here. Everyone with me up to now? Clear
Yes,
on that
sir.
point?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
Okay, good. Now, any doubts, just post me, yeah, so that I can explain it again and again. Now, the other point is, coming back to the costing fundamentals, if you kind of, I probably in last session before we start, ABC costing also at a high level, I explained. One is relating to your, whatever relating to direct material, when we look at this production flow, direct material or direct labor or direct expenses, which is directly attributable to the production. Okay. So we discussed that this is direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, which is directly relating to production. Now, other than that, when it comes to production, there are a whole lot of expenditure, which is not in direct nature, but relating to production, we call by the name overhead. If you recollect, even when the last topic we started also, I touched upon that topic. So one category of expenditure like direct material, direct labor, direct expense, which is directly attributable, directly traceable. But there is a whole lot of expenditure other than that, but relating to production. It can be an indirect labor, it can be factory rent, it can be electricity of factory building, insurance, whatever it may be. We call it by sweet name overhead, manufacturing overhead. Any expenditure other than direct material, direct labor, direct expenses incurred in relation to the production in the factory flow, we call it as manufacturing overhead. Okay. Now, when we explained about manufacturing overheads, we also discussed about the fact that how the allocation of overheads has to be done. Okay. We mentioned that when it comes to direct material, direct labor, we can identify the cost immediately at that moment of time itself. However, when it comes to overheads, we cannot identify, we may not be able to identify the overheads immediately because it's a whole lot of expenditure incurred in the factory. So as a result of which, we adopt the method of allocation of overhead, absorption of overhead. We discussed about that, allocation of overhead, absorption of overhead, wherein we identify something called budgeted rate. At the beginning of the year, there would have been some budgeted rate. We identified something called predetermined rate. I'm not getting into all those things. I'm just giving a preamble to the discussion, what we are coming to say. So there may be something called budgeted rate. There will be something called, the predetermined rate we identify. We apply with the actual level of activity. All these things when we discussed when it came to overhead. Okay. We identified that there is a budgeted rate we will calculate based on the budgeted hours or budgeted level of activity. And this budgeted rate will be applied with the actual level of activity. This is what we overall level we discussed when it comes to overhead allocation also. Coming back to the discussion, we discussed that there was direct material, direct labor, direct expenses where the cost can be traced out immediately. Whole lot of manufacturing expenses, we put it under manufacturing overhead, and the costs relating to that to identify at a given time, we use something called allocation absorption, wherein with budgeted rate we use and with the actual level of activity. So this is what we discussed about overhead allocation. All right. See, if anybody is attending this session for the first time, please don't worry. There is the topic what we are going to cover is something completely new, but I'm just giving a preamble of our discussion, and you will have the recordings also if at all any session missed out. Okay. Now coming back. So two things I explained now. The first thing is when it comes to helicopter, a manufacturing unit like this, there are a whole lot of manufacturing activity. There are critical activity departments like production department, sales department, marketing department, which we call it as a key departments. And there are some departments like service departments like IT, accounts, HR, all this, we call it as service department. This was one part I explained. Second part I discussed about the allocation of overhead as a whole, whatever relating to manufacturing. Please mute. So we discussed about the whole lot of expenditure, which is relating to whatever relating to the overall manufacturing overhead. We used the method of allocation, absorption, with which we allocate. Now we come to a point. Okay. We discussed that this production department cost, there is no confusion. Either it can be direct material, direct labor, direct expense, or if it is relating to manufacturing overhead, it is based on whatever the allocation absorption, we will be able to trace it out. Now the question is, there are a lot of service departments incurred into it. As a part of the production process, there are service department also there, which supports the production department. Okay, that is the key point. The point here is there are service departments available which supports the production department. So if I say, let's say service department, let's take a any service department like canteen service. For example, let's take canteen service. Now, canteen services, when we look at, though it is not directly related to production, or though it is not the inevitable department, the canteen services may be incurring some cost for the well-being of people in the production floor. So they incur some cost towards that. Or the canteen department may be incurring some cost for the well-being of maybe some other department, assembly department, which is a main department, or maybe incurring for the marketing department. It can be for anything for that matter. So technically, the cost of the service department also has to be included to the respective production or the key department where that cost is incurring. You're getting what I'm trying to say, everyone? Are you getting? The service department, let's take the example of canteen. They incur this cost to support a key department, which may be production, or it may be a marketing, or it may be an assembly department, whatever it may be, to the key department. So this canteen department doesn't have existence by itself. It is to support the main department. So as a result of this, whatever this canteen department cost incur has to be allocated to the respective departments where they provide service. You're getting my point, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Please respond yes, no in chat.
Sir.
So if I'm making it a little more easier, okay, let me put it this way. Let's say canteen department incurs, let's say $500, but canteen department doesn't want for canteen department cost, correct? It doesn't incur for canteen department. So what they do is this $500 probably for maybe the production department. They may be incurring out of this $500, $200 may be for production. There may be a sales department for which it may be incurring another $200. There may be an assembly department for which there may be $100. You're getting what I'm trying to say? So this 500 of canteen, whatever cost incurred for this production, sales, or assembly has to be allocated or transferred to those key departments. You're getting what I'm trying to say, everyone?
Yes, sir.
So that is the topic we are going to cover now. Nothing but service cost allocation. Now you understood what I'm trying to convey? Service cost allocation. So there are service departments, okay, which supports the main departments. So whatever the cost incurred by them has to be kind of allocated to the respective departments where they incur. So that is what we call by the shared service cost allocation. Is that clear, everyone? Any questions up to now? Please feel free. Any questions up to now? It's a very simple topic.
No, sir.
Just you need to kind of attend very carefully. It's only, multiple methods by which they do this. We need to understand that. Everyone with me? Please respond.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
No, you have to respond. I'm not hearing. I should get 41 responses technically. Please respond. That's the only way I realize that you are attending. Right? Please respond quickly. See, whatever I was explaining so far is a preamble. I was discussing what the topic we are going to cover. So from that perspective, if you look at, it is the first point was that, okay, there are key departments as well as service departments. That is one part you are clear. Second is the cost of the service department has to be allocated to the key department. Okay, up to that is clear. Okay, now we come. How is that allocation happens? Okay, that is the next part. How is that allocation happens? Now there will be a scenario. Okay, this is something very important. See, there can be a situation. Assume that there is only one service department. Okay, so in this case, let's say only canteen services is provided as service department. Okay, that can be one scenario. Then the situation is very simple. If only canteen services is there, let's say 3 department A, B, C. Key departments are A, B, C. And the service department is canteen. So whatever this canteen department cost, we will just, canteen department cost will be allocated to A, B, C easily straight away. You are clear? Now, like how I mentioned here, there is only canteen allocated between production, sales and assembly, whatever the proportion of whatever the basis, they will just allocate. This is a scenario when there is only canteen services is involved in it. Everyone with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now can be, this is something called single service department. So I have a situation, only single service department comes, then it's a straight case. I can just allocate to the key department and close that. Now there can be another scenario. There can be multiple departments, like multiple service department. So canteen can be one. There may be an IT can be there. There can be an HR department. So this is nothing but multiple service department. So when this multiple service department comes, there is a catch in it. What is a catch in it? Can you guess? What is a catch? There can be multiple service department when it comes. There can be a catch. What is that catch? Guess and say.
Specifically allocated.
Yes, allocation ratio definitely it can be given, but there can be one more catch in it. Think on it. There can be one catch, always can happen. When there is multiple service departments. When there is multiple service department happens, there can be one catch. Tell me. Think on it.
Basis of allocation.
Yes, I agree. Basis of allocation has to be given. That is something I'm not denying. How is in case of single service department also, I should get the basis of allocation. But when it comes to multiple service department, there is one catch is there. What is that? Accounts department, HR department, IT department. Let's say these are the service department. And production, let's say the main key department is, let's say, ABC for a moment. So when this service cost allocation, there is a catch will come. What is that?
It's on the basis of number of employees.
It can be any rational can be there. It can be number of employees or anything. Basis of allocation can be anything. But there is something, some tricky situation will come. Of course, it is based on the efforts like in canteen. Canteen department supported production, sales, assembly. So it become distributed in that. So it can be number of employees or the effort, whatever the basis.
Some portion will be fixed.
Fixed and variable is one part. No denies on that. That is correct. But beyond that, there is a tricky situation will come up, right? What is a tricky situation?
So allocation for only for the departments that is only needed.
Correct. So they give the allocation for the departments which is given. But think, I'm giving a live scenario. Production, let's say A department, or let me give a simple situation. Production department, assembly department, and let's say final assembly department, 3 departments. Okay. And the service departments are canteen or HR, IT, and accounts. 3 departments are service department. Now the cost has to be allocated. Okay. So there can be the earlier example what I given is straight canteen services to 3 departments, clear. But here I am saying about 3 service department cost. What is the trick which can come up?
The proportionate of allocation.
Proportion of allocation, correct. Come back, finish it off. Think on it. Is there any possibility of it's something, it is manageable, but there can be a unique situation will come up. What is that?
Estimation.
Estimation related, correct. But what is that estimation? When you do it, what do you do? If it is based on number of employees for a moment.
Budgeting is to be done.
Of course, everything starts with budget. But if it is number of employees basis, you are allocating for to make it easier for you. Okay. Accounts department cost has to be allocated based on the number of employees in the factory. Okay. What happens then? I'm giving one more hint.
If it is specifically allocated for a specific production.
No, I given the example. No, we have production department, then assembly department, and final assembly. 3 departments. Service departments are accounts, HR, and IT. Now, accounts department cost is assigned based on the number of employees. Simple. Okay. What is the tricky situation will come up? Is there a tricky situation will come, or it's very easy?
It will come because of if assembly department takes more employees,
Yeah.
then it will be a problem, no, sir?
What is the problem? You allocate more to assembly, no problem.
But the cost may be incurring in that particular department is very less due to the time taken.
That we don't know. We don't know now. It may be. I mean, you are saying from an industry perspective. I'm not denying.
Yes.
But for a moment, assume that I'm not going to the industry specific. The allocation is purely based on employees. For a moment, assume that. I'm not going into the technicalities of it. Think on it. There is some other catch. You know it. What is that catch? If is all employees only into production, assembly, and final assembly?
No. No.
Where they will be?
Therefore, all other departments also, like not only for procurement, it may be allocated.
No, assume for a moment only 6 departments in this factory for now.
Okay.
What is the catch? What is the catch? So if when they are allocating based on number of employees, okay, is it only allocates to production department alone?
No.
What will happen?
Even HR.
Absolutely. See what happens when your accounts department cost you are allocating based on the number of employees for a moment. What happens? It is not allocating only to your production department. What happened? There is service department also takes that benefit, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Are you getting my point? So
Yes, sir.
that is something called multiple service department cost allocation. Okay. We'll come to that later. So there are 2 scenarios coming up. The first scenario is single service department cost allocation. The example which I mentioned about the canteen services to production, sales, assembly. And the second one is multiple service department cost allocation. Okay. These are the 2 scenarios which comes across when it comes to service cost allocation. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
All of you, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Got it, sir. Got it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now what we need to do is under each scenario, how we need to apply, how we need to approach, what are the different methods into it. We'll start evaluating them. Under that, the first one is single service department cost allocation. Single service department cost allocation. We'll come to multiple service department later. Now, when it comes to single service department cost allocation, what we do is Again, there is two scenarios will come up. Okay. One is single rate. These are two methods we can say. Single rate allocation method, and second is dual rate allocation method. I'll explain you what is the single rate allocation method and dual rate allocation method. See, listen to me very carefully, 5 minutes. When it comes to this factory, there will be two category of costs which will come up. Jason was mentioning earlier, right? There will be one scenario, Jason or Jobin. It is first is relating to fixed cost. There can be a situation. There is fixed cost is one part, which you are very aware what is fixed variable, you are aware. Second is relating to variable. Okay, variable means which varies with the level of activity. So in factory, there are two costs involved. One is fixed, another is variable. Now under single service department cost, when we do it, under single rate allocation method, there is no difference between, we will not treat any no difference between fixed or variable cost. We identify one cost and apply that. Whereas when it comes to dual different method, separation between fixed and variable cost. You're getting what I'm trying to say? I will explain with an example. It will be very clear. But first, you need to understand that we are discussing about single service department. Okay, remember canteen department giving service to production, sales, and assembly. Multiple service department, there is a second example, which is assembly or production assembly or final assembly, and the service department of accounts, HR. That we will come up later. So we are discussing about the first situation. Under that single service department allocation, there are two methods being utilized. One is single rate allocation method, wherein no difference between fixed or variable is considered. Straight away, you identify a single rate, apply with that allocate between other departments. Service cost is allocated to main department with a single rate. The other method is you identify a separation between fixed and variable, and then separately identify for whatever the key department and allocate based on that. When I explain with an example, this will be very clear. But I want to understand up to now, everyone is clear what we have explained, the approaches, single service department, multiple department, under single department, single rate and dual rate. Up to now, everyone clear? Please respond yes or no, so that I can go to a practical example and explain you. Everyone, please respond. I should hear 41 responses, please.
Yes.
Kindly respond via message so that it is very clear for me. I can see how many of you respond. I would like to see 41 response, which means that everyone is clear. Kindly respond. I got only 30 response till now. 34. Please don't mind, I'm insisting on that so that I get conviction that all of you are clear. That's the only point, okay? Another 5 more people to respond. Think they are sleeping or not attending the classes. Not sure. Anyway, 5 people didn't respond, but next time please respond if you are there, okay? Now let me go to an example and explain you what is single rate allocation method and dual rate method. So we are discussing about a situation, single service department. Under that single rate allocation and dual rate allocation is what we are discussing now. Okay. Now single rate allocation method. Look at this example. Okay. You can see the example of service department X budgeted cost. Just read this example, please. Please go through this example. Service department X budgeted cost, fixed cost is 5 lakhs. Total number of hours is 10,000. Variable cost is 50 per hour. Budgeted hours for production department A and B. Budgeted hours is 7,500 for A, for B 2,500, and actual hours is A 8,000 and B 3,000. We are discussing about single service department. Under single service department, we are discussing about single rate method. Now, if you look at here, what are the details given? What is the service department? Service department is X. You could see that service department name is X. Now, under service department X, if you look at, you could see that under service department X, fixed cost incurred is 5 lakhs. Total number of hours incurred is 10,000. Variable cost is $50 per hour. Budgeted hours is given 7,500 and 2,500. So which effectively means that my variable cost is connected to the rate. You could see the rate $50 per hour. Budgeted hours is given 7,500 and 2,500. Actual hours is also given 8,000 and 3,000. Now, fixed cost is not connected with your number of hours. You are very clear on that. Now, similarly, whereas why they given the budgeted hours and variable rate? Because the variable rate varies with the budgeted level of activity. So in this case, it is budget was 7,500, but actual become 8,000. But in case of single rate method, what we do is we identify a single rate. We do not differentiate between fixed cost and variable. What we do is, see, fundamentally, you need to understand that there is a cost incurred. Okay, what is a cost incurred? Fixed cost of 5 lakhs incurred, and there is a variable cost of 50 per hour incurred. Now, this cost need to be allocated between production department A and B. That point is clear. Now, how we allocate is what we are trying to convey. So the first point is production department A, B, how we allocate, we need to identify. So what we do under single rate method, we identify a single rate. What is a single rate? Fixed cost is 5 lakhs plus we identify that the variable rate is total is how many hours? 10,000 hours, which is nothing but 7,500 plus 2,500, 10,000 hours. So 5 lakhs plus 10,000 into 50, which you get how much? Overall 10 lakhs. And what we do with that? We divided that with the overall number of hours, which is total number of hours is 10,000 in this case. So with that, we identify a rate called $100, which is nothing but here effectively we are not differentiating between fixed cost and variable. We randomly take both costs together. So 5 lakhs is my fixed, variable budget is 10,000 hours, which is 7,500 plus 2,500, 10,000 hours at the rate of 50 is the cost. We take the total cost, it becomes 10 lakhs and the total number of hours is 10,000. We divide the rate as 100, single rate as 100. And what we do this single rate, this is budgeted rate. We apply with the actual level of activity, which is 8,000 hours is the actual activity for A, 8,000 into 100, the predetermined rate. For B, it is how much? 3,000 into 100. So it becomes 3 lakh. And the overall cost which is allocated is 11 lakhs. So A department has an allocation of 8 lakhs cost and B department has a cost allocation of 3 lakhs. I explained the concept behind it and the practical question relating to this. Let me brief it once again for little more understanding. What we do here is, what we doing here? We notice that the service department X has incurred some fixed cost of 5 lakhs. Also, we notice that they have incurred 7,500 budgeted for A and 2,500 budgeted for B at the rate of 50. Now, this cost has to be allocated between production department A and B. The overall cost is very clear what is incurred by X. This need to be allocated between production department A and B. For that, under single rate of method, what we do? We identify a single rate without differentiating between whether it is without differentiating between fixed and variable. So we total everything. What is the total? Fixed cost of 5 lakhs. We consider this. What is variable cost? $50 into 10,000 hours budgeted. So 50 into 10,000. So that also 5 lakhs. So the total is 10 lakhs. And how many hours? 10,000 hours. So it becomes 100. This 100 will be allocated based on actual hours. So actual hours is how much? 8,000. 8,000 into 100. Similarly for B, 3,000 into 100. So it becomes 8 lakhs and 3 lakhs. Total becomes 11 lakhs. Is that clear, everyone? Any questions on this? Please go through it once again and confirm me. Please respond. Everyone, please respond. All right. So what we will do is, the single rate is clear. I was thinking we will explain double rate, or I mean dual rate also, then go to the other example. But what we'll do is we'll directly go to one example. Can you see this question, everyone? Please try this single rate allocation method. Remember, this is single service department. We are discussing about single service department. Under that, single rate method. So what is this question? So please take a screenshot. Service department ABC budgeted cost. Fixed cost is 10 lakhs. Total number of hours is 20,000. Variable cost is 100 per hour. Budgeted hours for production department X and Y, 12,500 and 7,500. That is how you get the 20,000 hours. Actual hours is 13,000 and 8,000. Identify service cost allocated for A and B, and identify the total cost allocated. Please take a screenshot and try it out. Please do it and post it. Yes, Medini seems correct. Mention A and B also how much. Augustine seems okay. Ruba, correct. Right for both departments. Sandhya, okay. Right for both department. Ashwin, okay. Shravani, correct. Adul seems okay. Write the total. Dinesh, okay. Sindhura, okay. Sanket, okay. Dharmendra, okay. Rupa, okay. Sandhya, okay. Yes, Medini, that's correct. Dheeraj, okay. Tejaswini, okay. Rupa, okay. Stevin, okay. Sahana, correct. Swati, okay. Shraddha, okay. Sharda, okay, correct. Adul, correct. Total is okay. Sandhya, total is correct. Rima, okay. Write the total also. Ashwin, okay. Ananda, correct. Write individually also. Sridhar, correct. Everyone, please try it out. It's not complex. Anshul seems okay. Even if you are not getting first time, please don't worry. This is a first example. When we do more and more questions, it becomes clear. Let me share the screen and explain again. So if you look at here, I hope you can see the screen. If you look at here under fixed method, what we said, we have a method in which we mentioned that under single rate method, we will identify a single rate which can be used as a basis. Now, what we identify single rate, we will take the total cost. Fixed cost, how much? 10 lakhs. How much is my variable cost budgeted? 20,000 into 100. So how much it become? 20 lakhs. So 20 lakhs plus fixed cost of 10 lakhs. Total become 30 lakhs. And 30 lakhs, how many total hours? 20,000 hours. So how much is per hour? How much is per hour? Please help me out. How much is per hour?
150.
150. So $150, $150 per hour we get. Now, if it is 150 per hour, when it comes to actual, what we do? A is 13,000 multiplied with 150. How much we get?
19,50,000.
19 lakhs 50,000. For B, how we do it?
8,000 into 150.
8,000 into 150. How much we get?
12 lakh.
12 lakh.
So the total become 31 lakhs 50,000. Is that clear, everyone? Any questions on it? Hope it's clear, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Should I repeat? Anybody any questions? Please put a message. Okay. I hope it's clear. Even if you didn't get in the first time, doesn't matter. Okay. If you are clear with when after I explain, that is more important. Also, you'll be watching the recording also. Okay. Now comes to the next one. So we are on single service department. Remember the canteen example, it is single service department cost is what we are discussing. Now, single service department is clear. Under single service department, we identify single rate. We didn't differentiate fixed and variable. We directly allocated. Now we are coming to the second example. Listen carefully for 2 minutes, very carefully. Here what we are going to discuss about dual rate allocation. Dual rate. Dual rate, as the name indicates, we separately calculate fixed and variable cost. separately. That is why it is called as dual rate, two rates. Fixed and variable is not one. In first case, it was one. Here we are calculating dual rate. What we will do in this case is, because we need to allocate, first we'll come to the variable part. Okay, let me explain. Same question. Fixed cost is 5 lakhs. Hours is 10,000. Variable is 50 per hour. And budgeted as well as actual is given. Only thing to be remember, variable is very simple. In case of variable, what we do? First, let us do variable. We know what is a variable rate. $50 per hour. There is no confusion. This variable 50 per hour, we will identify with actual hours. So first, we will calculate how much to be allocated for department A, production department A. Now, production department A, if you look at, variable is very simple. Total hours actual is 8,000. Okay. So what we do, 8,000 and the rate is 50. There is no confusion. 8,000 into 50, 4 lakhs, we directly identify. Okay. Similarly, when it comes to B department, okay, we'll come to the fixed separately. Variable is very straight. How many hours? 3,000 hours we should take actual, and the variable rate is also clear. So 3,000 into 50, 1,50,000. That is very clear for department B. We are discussing about allocating to production department A and production department B. Here, under dual rate, we need to calculate separately for fixed and variable. So that is why we are taking one by one. So first we identify variable, take the standard rate, which is 50, apply with actual level of activity, no confusion at all. So we identify with that. So it is 8,000 is the actual hours multiplied with 50 for department A. For department B, it is 3,000 actual with 50. We identify 1,50,000. When it comes to 1 lakh, when it comes to fixed, remember, fixed cost is $5 lakhs and it is not connected with your number of hours. Please understand, whether you calculate 7,500 or 8,000 or 10,000, whatever it may be, the fixed cost remains constant. It is not connected with your number of hours. It is independent of the level of activity. For example, if I take a rented premises, okay, whether I stay there or not, I have to pay rent, correct? Similarly, when a factory, you occupied a larger space for rental space, whether you manufacture one helicopter or 100 helicopter, you have to pay the rent. So fixed cost is remains same, 5 lakhs. The only thing what we are doing here is to allocate between department A and B. We will identify a rate for fixed overhead. We identify a rate for fixed overhead based on the budgeted hours. So what we do here, fixed cost is 5 lakhs, which is very clear, divided with what is the number of hours? 10,000 hours, which is budgeted hours. We calculate based on that 5 lakhs divided by 10,000. So fixed, we identify a rate. Please understand, there is nothing called fixed cost per unit. Fixed cost remains constant. But because to allocate between A and B, we just calculate a rate which will be the basis for allocating between A and B. So we identify that $50 is the cost to be allocated, which is clear. Now what we need to do, when it comes here, we are not going to take actual hours because it is not connected with the level of activity. Whatever budgeted was there, we will allocate based on that. So 7,500 into 50, because it is budgeted. We just take a rationale for allocating between A and B. So 7,500 was the budgeted hours. Per rate, we identified 50. So 7,500 into 50, we get 3,75,000. When it comes to B, we already have 2,500. 2,500 into 50, which is nothing but 1,25,000 we get for fixed. Please remember, it is not allocation per unit we calculate and identify. It is not that way. Fixed cost between A to B we need to allocate. So we identify the total budgeted hours and taken a rationale to allocate between both of them. Is that clear, everyone? Please respond yes, no, so that I
Yes,
can move
sir.
ahead. Please go through this example thoroughly once again. 1 minute, go through it thoroughly. Confirm me. I need to hear 41 responses, please. Go through this example once again. 1 minute spent on this. Try to understand thoroughly. Only 23% responded. How about others? Please respond. These are complex concepts we are explaining in very simple. All you need to do is you need to be attentive. Go through the recordings. Please respond. I got only 30 responses so far. 11 people yet to respond. Come on, guys. I'm explaining for 1 hour. You need 5 seconds to say yes or no, correct? You need to show that courtesy to me, isn't it? It's not easy. Please understand. Okay. I think 6 people are not, 5 people are not there, I think. Okay, Augustine respond, raise hand. So 4 people not responded, but I assume, yeah, anyways. Okay. So this is clear. What we'll do is quickly we'll do a question. Okay. Remember, variable is straight. You take the rate, apply with actual level of activity. Fix it. All you need to do is identify per rate. You know, it's just a basis we calculate and then divide with budgeted hours. Okay. Now do this question. Whatever we did, service department ABC, fixed cost is given. Total number of hours given, variable cost per hour is given, budgeted hours is given, actual hours is given. Please identify service department cost allocated to production department A and B. Sorry, here it is X and Y, my fault. Not ABC, it's XY. Identify for X and Y. Please do it.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Tell me.
So why are we taking fixed cost as a budgeted hours?
Because fixed cost we identify at the budgeted level itself, correct? Now, the whole rationale is that it is technically not connected with your budgeted hours also. It is just that we are trying to, we need a rationale for allocating between the production department. See, I'll tell you, look at this way. I am incurring 1 lakh. Look at the same example in a real-time scenario. I incur a cost of fixed cost of 10 lakhs for that factory hangar. Okay. In that department, there is X and Y is available. Now, X and Y, whether they do anything or not do anything, I have to pay factory hangar rent. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, I need to have some rationale because end of the day, this has to be allocated to production department. So I need to have some rationale to allocate between that production department of X and Y. So we taken some rationale as budgeted hours probably. Budgeted hours at that moment of time. Okay. And that budgeted hours as a basis, we need to allocate. Your fixed cost remain constant. It is 10 lakhs only. Tomorrow budgeted hours 12,500, you make 15,000 also, doesn't make any difference. You understood?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So that is why to allocate this 10 lakhs, we have identified a rationale and moving ahead and allocate. Now, if we, for a moment, hypothetically, we convert with the rationale, what we discussed per unit, we identify, apply with actual level. What will happen? Hypothetically, rent will increase. Rent will increase. That's it. Isn't it? Am I correct?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So, but that is not the reality, correct? Rent is rent fixed. Isn't it?
Yes, sir. Got it, sir.
Okay, that's the point. Try to do it quickly. Take a screenshot. Almost all of you are right. Just let me explain so that we can move on. Listen here. So what we do here, first department, let's do department wise. When it comes to production department A, under production department A, first is variable. How we do variable? It's straight. How many hours? 13,000 into per hour is 100. So it become
13 lakh.
13 lakhs. Now under A, fixed cost is how much? We need to calculate per hour fixed cost, correct? So fixed cost is 10 lakhs divided by how many hours? 20,000. So total become 50. Am I correct? So 12,500, which is the budgeted hours at the rate of 50. How much you get?
6,25,000.
6,25,000. So how much is total allocated to A?
19,25,000.
75,000.
19,25,000. Now comes to B. B variable, how much?
8,000 into $100.
B's variable is how much? First is 8,000. 8,000 hours into 100. So it becomes 8 lakhs. When it comes to Y, sorry, fixed, how much it is?
7,500 hours into
7,500 into 50. How much it become?
3,75,000.
3,75,000. The total bill become 11,75,000.
75,000.
And the total becomes how much together? Total allocated between A and B, total cost is 31 lakhs.
31 lakh.
Is that clear, everyone? Please confirm yes, no. Whatever we discussed today, completely clear. Please respond yes, no. I need to get 40 responses, please. Please respond quickly.
Sir,
Tell me.
yeah, can you explain why we take budgeted hours for fixed cost now?
Okay, I'll explain. Okay. Now, this is what I was explaining earlier also. Listen carefully. Now, for a moment, assume that fixed cost means what? It remain fixed throughout. Agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Who asked that question?
Swati.
Swati. So good. So Swati, fixed cost is 10 lakhs. Let's take it is rent. For a moment, let us assume it is rent. So how much rent we are paying? 10 lakhs. Now 10 lakhs I have to pay whether I have a total budgeted hours of 20,000 hours or 21,000. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Or I didn't do anything also I have to pay that rent. Am I
Yes,
correct?
sir.
Now, when I taken with budgeted hours, okay, as I mentioned, this is only for the allocation purpose. I have created a segregation between kind of what is for production department A or production department X or Y. Technically, that fixed cost remains constant. It has nothing to do with my number of hours. But to allocate between X and Y, I taken budgeted hours. Now, for a moment, take an argument that let us take actual hours basis. Okay, what will happen? This $50. Okay, now if you look at what is the rent coming across fixed at 6,25,000 plus 3,75,000. How much is total?
10
10 lakhs. Now, hypothetical situation, taking an argument, let's go with actual hours. So 50 is per rate. 13,000 into, for a moment, let us calculate with actual hours, which is 13,000 into 50. How much it gets?
6 lakh 50.
6 lakhs.
6 lakh 50.
6 lakh 50. And for Y, how much? 8,000 into 50.
4 lakh.
4 lakhs.
4 lakhs. And the total is how much?
10 lakh 50,000.
10 lakhs 50,000. Now, what is the actual rent I pay? 10 lakh 50 or 10 lakhs?
10 lakh.
10 lakh.
Now you understood why? Fixed hour
Yes, sir.
cost
It is
has,
fixed.
pardon me?
No, sir. Understood.
Understood, na? Fixed hour has nothing to do with the budgeted hours or actual hours. That is something we taken as a basis for allocation. I told you, no. See, there is a hangar in which two departments visualize that situation. There is X department or Y department. Whether X department functions, Y department functions, I have to pay rent. Now we identify some basis that, okay, this fixed cost has to be allocated, probably budgeted hours 12,500 for X, 5 for 7,500 for Y. We allocate between them, created some rationale to distribute between X and Y. That's all. So if you take with this, the rent will not give a clear picture. Fixed cost will not clear picture. Fixed cost cannot kind of, there is no concept called per unit fixed cost and all. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Very clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good. So I think more or less we are clear with the first part. So to summarize, we are discussing about service cost allocation. We are discussing about service cost allocation. So remember the example of single service department, wherein I mentioned canteen department giving services to various departments. Remember that. So we are under single service department. Under that, there are two scenarios. One is single rate and second is dual rate. Under single rate, we directly go for fixed variable, no difference. Identify a rate, apply it. Under dual rate method, we identify between variable and fixed separately. So this is, we explained about the single rate method. Probably we'll do one more question tomorrow and then move on to the, we discussed about the single service department. We'll move on to the next one, wherein multiple service department later. All right, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you. Good
Have a
night.
great evening.
Thank
Take
you, sir.
care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Good night.